we just got back from a 15-day trip in Kenya, and it was remarkable. And I wanted to share some things about what God is stirring, what He's doing. I think there's some things in the future that are very large, and so quite excited about that. So one with, it was just going to be Sadiq and I were going to go and do some things, and then, of course, Zach, my son, decided to be homeschooled this year so he could go with us. I mean, that's crazy, isn't it? Change the whole schooling thing. So he went, and then we were going to go to visit Peter, and then Peter decided that he would be living in America, and so he went with us. And then last minute, Luke Lynn joined us, and so that was our team that went over there. I want to read some things out of pretty familiar passages, but I think it's a good reminder of this. John chapter 4, Jesus, when he was talking to the woman at the well, was saying a lot of things. But then he said, where did it go here? He says, my food is to do the will of the Father, da, 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 da. And then he says, do not say 4 months more and then the harvest. I tell you, open your eyes and look at the fields. They are ripe for harvest. Now, I want you to see a key thing there. He says, open your eyes and look at the fields. If I were to tell people that this is a ripe time for a harvest of souls, a lot of people would say, you got to be crazy. What kind of world are you living? This is like the worst time. I mean, people aren't this, nobody likes this, da, 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 da. And I would agree with you. But if we can open our eyes and see the things that God is doing, we'll see that the fields are ripe for harvest. It really takes the eyes of faith to see that they're ripe now. We're living in an unprecedented time. It's a very odd time. Nobody else has ever lived in a time like this. But I'm telling you, the fields are ripe for harvest if we see them with the Lord's eyes. And then he says, they are ripe for harvest. Even now the reaper draws his wages. Even now he harvests the crop for eternal life, so that the sower and the reaper may be glad together. Thus the saying, one sows and another reaps, is true. I sent you to reap what you have not worked for. Others have done the hard work, and you have reaped the benefits of their labor. I can tell you that I feel like most of my life is lived in verse 37, that I sent you to reap what others have worked for. Others have done the hard work, and you have reaped the benefits of their labor. And there's no greater picture of that to me than being in when I go to Kenya. This is ground that people have given their lives for forever. As you know, my great-grandfather was a missionary over there, probably never saw a convert in the multi-years he was over there. And yet we see things now that are unprecedented, and it is a classic. I walk over and pick up the loot that somebody else won the battle for. And it's pretty humbling, but it's really good to remind yourself of that, because as cool as you think you are, you're not that impressive. And at the same time, as lousy as you think you are, you're not that either. It's just really good to soberly look at how God has called you in both things. And so your successes don't make you great, and your failures don't make you bad. And so don't get hung up in either one of them. You just are who you are, and just keep doing that. Okay, so here's what I wanted to share. We're a nice little small crowd here tonight. Wanted to share some things that went on, but I really want to focus on the beginnings of something that's very large. I've been at the beginnings of some pretty neat things in my life, and they're all pretty fun. And at the beginning, usually you just have a handful of people who are with you at the beginning. And that's kind of what makes it fun. And then as it grows, obviously, it's not the small beginning that it used to be. But there's something about the beginning that is nobody else, no matter who they are, what's happening when they are in the world and then things. That beginning is so cool. Gateway Church is a church of about 45,000 people in Dallas. And I've spent time with, and I know a guy very well who was one of the first 200 people in that church. Now, he has a very different and a cooler view of that church than number 46,522. and he was in a ground floor, and he gave himself to that work. And there's something about being in at the beginning that is extremely special. And so I just want to say that I really believe we're at the beginning of something that is much larger than any of us could ever imagine. And it is way bigger than I could imagine. And I'm a pretty decent dreamer, and I'm a pretty big visionary. But there were some things that happened in the 2 weeks there that made me realize that the things I think I've seen are so small compared to what God wants done. And it's a little bit, it's heavy on me. And it even talking now, I get a little emotional about it because it's at the ground floor of something very, very large. So, Sadiq and Peter, you better just at least come up here. I'm just worried, Sadiq, you're just going to doze off. And so, I say, see, just come up here so you're around me. Turn on those lights too. I can't even see you back there, man. Gosh, I take Sadiq and Peter with me, and I am the only person in all of Kenya that they can see when it's dark out. And so, all of them, turn them all on. There's one more. Why would you turn one down and the rest up? Really? There we go. Now we're all in the light. Come all the way up here, Sadiq. Come on. I spent 15 days. I'm going to make you sit right here in this special seat. We went to. You good now, aren't you? All right. We went to 3 places, and it was an interesting trip because this is the first trip I've been on where we had multiple. It was like choose your own adventure stories. And we knew we were going to one place. And after that, we had many options. And we really had to say, okay, Lord, where do you want us to go? Because they were drastically different options. First place we went to was near Nairobi, Karangoya. We'll talk about that in a second. Then after that, we had a choice to go south to Migori, where John Okinda is, or go northwest to Eldoret and Kitale, where we have 2 other contacts. That's where Peter's from, but of course he's not our contact there because he's not there. And so it's another contact we had there. So we really had to make that decision, and we were second-guessing ourselves all the time. We thought, when we went over there, we thought we were going to go to Migori, and then we were there in Karangoya, and we thought, oh, man, where do we go next? And we debated. I already told John Okinda we were coming, and we thought, man, the Lord wants us to go to Eldoret and Kitale, and so I had to call John up and tell him we're not coming, which you kind of feel like a real heel about, but oh well. He wasn't going to be there, but then actually he changed his plans to be there. So it's even worse, because I thought, well, this will be easy, because he's not going to be there the weekend we're coming. And then I called him, and I said, we're canceling. He said, oh, I can't. He had to go to a wedding, and he canceled it. And I'm like, John, don't cancel a wedding on account of me. But it was neat to see how God led us around there. Okay, so here's the big picture plan. I want you to see this. 2015, let me go back a real quick story. From 1970 to 1988, my entire life was defined by sports, period. It isn't even close. That's all I was. That's all I knew. That's all I watched. That's all. If I read a book, it was about sports. If I watched a movie, it was about sports. If I did anything, it was about sports. I was 100% athlete. That's all I was. And I was extremely one-dimensional and probably very skewed in that way. I got saved in 1987, and 1988 I went to college, and I didn't have a single friend who liked sports. And God discipled me for the next 5 years, and nobody liked sports, which was a very odd thing to me. And all my great friends, all the people who discipled me, everybody who poured into my life was a non-athlete who didn't know the difference between the Yankees, Giants. They have no idea. It was like I'm in a weird world, and God completely stripped sports away from me. All the friends I had in college, I would have never spent any time with in high school, and yet they were the most influential people in my life. And then after that, I just want to take you on this little odyssey because it's an interesting thing. Then in '93, I did get back in. I got into coaching and stuff like that. But all my ministry I started working with teenagers in 1994, and from 1994 to about the year 2000, I had a whole pile of kids who were musicians. Like, that's just wrong. I didn't even know a musician when I was in high school. And for 6 years, and I had a lot of young people, and they were all artsy musician types. And so none of my ministry even touched a ball. None of it. And and uh, and then a little bit later, some Sandy Walrods and athletes came into my world. Thank you, praise the Lord. But there was really almost a 15-year window where athletics were a complete non-entity in my life, and then it's been a mix since then. But interestingly, sports has never been a part of ministry, even though sports is still a big part of my life, and it was a huge part of my life. But it's never really been like the fact that we have 20,000 square feet of buildings here and not a single place to play in 20,000 square feet is odd. Just is. Just is an odd thing. So in 2015, God put on my heart a concept of how to reach young people in other countries. I've been in other countries long enough to know the needs and also the styles of ministries, the methods that are being used. And the concept was to take the church, and because organized sports are almost non-existent in developing nations. They're just so few and far between. Some in the cities, a handful in the rural areas, but pretty much there are no organized sports in most of the developing nations of the world. The concept was to go to the local churches, have them begin organized sports, and they would become the center of the town. They would become the hub, and people would come there, and the sports used as a bait to get people to come. And the whole heart of it then was then when you gather teams, you disciple teams, and it's to make disciples. It's not to have large events. It's not a concept about large events. Sports have been used to draw large events for a long time. This is a complete concept of disciple making, using the tool of sports to draw people in, to get them down and make disciples. So that's what the International Sports Academy is all about. I buried it for 2.5 years, and really God resurrected it in January when I sat before a high official in the Kenyan government, and he said, "Listen, we got problems with our youth. What would we do? What would you do if you were here?" And I just spewed out this 3-year-old vision of the International Sports Academy, and he says, "Great, we'll take it." And I'm like, we're nothing. I'm not even sure we had a name. We certainly didn't have anything else. I quickly called Tricia and say, "Tricia, you better get us a logo and a website, because this guy asked us to come and reach 500,000 young people in his county. So get to work." And so there you go, and you did. Then we went over there and started this. But here's what we did. We went over there, and this place in Karangoya, which is with Bishop Paul Muchiri, who's become a very good friend of ours. He was the place we really felt God said, "Start it here." We didn't know him very well, but what we knew of him, we knew him through Keith Barretto, and Paul's been here twice, and so we know him decently. But we knew that he was the guy to go to, and so we went there, and we were going to start it with him. And when we got there, we had talked to him quite a bit, and he seemed to understand the concept pretty well. But what we had no idea was how prepared these people were for when we got over there. We show up, and they take us to their church, and right away out in front, a welder shows up who's building basketball hoops. Like, "Oh my gosh, you're doing this!" And they've got a field for it, and they're ready. And they brought in all these leaders from other churches, and so we had to teach them and train them. There's workers out in the field with welding equipment. I think for their glasses, some of you are welders, I think they wear sunglasses. Really? I mean, it was like, "Are you serious? This guy's welding?" And they put on sunglasses, and they build a court. Took 2 days to build. It was all them who built it, all their workers, all their equipment. Everything was theirs. This is an important concept here, because guess what? When it breaks in a month or two, guess what they'll do? Fix it. Hello, American missionaries. Quit doing the work and taking things in and building things, and they break, and they put them off in a corner and say, "I remember that 5 years ago when that missionary came and built it." Everything was theirs. Everything was done by them. We really did hardly anything. at all in the working of this. So got a basketball hoop. They're building a volleyball posts. They got these big pipes and putting a post in. It's a net I took from the Warren County School District that's now over there as a volleyball net. They probably don't know it. Listen, if you lay something around in a closet, there it is right there. Peter's looking at, what the heck? We going fishing? It's a volleyball net, Peter. You look very confused. Sneak, you look just as confused. You're like, see what I put up with? And these people were so ready, and I want you to hear this. When we got there, and I said to Paul, I said, Paul, what's your vision? He said, I want 500 people in our Sunday school program. I said, how many do you have now? He says, like 60. I want 500. I said, let's do it, man. And so, and he says I think he had a pretty good grasp of what would happen with sports, because in this county's again about 1 million people live in this county. In that county, there's one basketball court, and it is bad, just bad. It was a dirt floor, and it was mud when we were there. And there is a volleyball net in the same park. Ironically, the coach of the county team, and they're pretty good, goes to this church, and he's going to run the International Sports Academy. So we have a premier volleyball coach who's going to run this thing. And so they get this thing all set up, and we're teaching people, and we're out there, we're hanging out, and Zach and Luke both were really critical in this. Young people are pretty much magnets to young people, and it's not a. So they'd get out some pumps, pump up a ball, and they were playing, before we got hoops up, they're out there playing basketball. Let me tell you, basketball without hoops is not that fun. But they're all over there doing, they're learning how to dribble and all these things. Volleyball without a net, they're doing all kinds of stuff, and they're like all getting ready for this. They get the hoops up on Friday, I believe it was. By Friday afternoon, they're out there playing, and I'm telling you, this field was full of people, just full of them. Saturday, they had a day when they invited a lot of young people there. There were some 200 young people that came the second day of these hoops up. Now watch this. All these young people know right now that the best place to go in that entire county is Karangoya Pefa Church. Number one place to go, no question about it. And we trained coaches the one day, and they're all set. And they are. We actually built ping pong tables there. That's an odd thing, and did that. So now they got ping pong going on. They've got all these things, people coming in, and they saw it. How this is a magnet. This is bait for having people jump in, and they're completely ready to go. You were there. Talk about what you saw and how it really clicked in your mind. How this.
All right. Well, sports, like Pastor Rick said, is not my thing. I've never thought I would ever see it being used for this purpose. So it was a little bit supportive role, but it wasn't my idea in the sense of how it worked. But sitting there looking at how the need for the young people almost everywhere, what is lacking is the ability to connect to the adult and what is going on. So they feel out, and sometimes we don't understand why. And so seeing them just come out enthusiastically like that, for me, I saw the crowd gathered. It neutralizes everything. There's no denomination there. There is no religion there. Muslims come, everybody come. They have seen something. And you.
One of our coaches is named Hussein Muhammad. He's a total Muslim, and he's so excited about basketball and so excited about kids. I'm in. I said, you do know this is Christian? He says, yeah, but I love basketball and I love kids. So when you get Hussein Muhammad as one of your coaches.
You're going somewhere. Well, literally, it's going to be a very powerful tool. The issue is, how do we gather kids where their heart and passion is in the same place? It's not so easy to do that, but this is becoming magnetic. I saw kids there, and my heart just, I the revelation of what needs to be done just popped up in my spirit. Oh, what we need here is train, and Pastor Red has the idea, the chaplains, people who strategically can see what is going on. And, I just add that to what Dennis asked. What would I be if I were to go? What will I do? And as he asked me that question, and I was thinking, so who he is, how can he play into this? Because I was kind of like that. But then I realized in the crowd, if you are sensitive to the Holy Spirit, when the people are there, and again, their defenses are down. They're not like, oh, you're going to push your religion to me. No, they have just come a place where their hearts are open, they are free, they have no defense for anything. And so they see love in that environment with wisdom. We present Christ. Because the fact that they have come playing doesn't mean their problems are diminished. They still have them, and therefore that gives us an opportunity to share the Word of God. And in a way that really can touch them, change them. And so the opportunity is really great. And I see an explosion coming to the young people. And so it transcends really a denominational barrier. For in Kenya, that has been a limiting factor. Oh, I am this, and therefore some people are limited to participate into what others have. But the sport is going to cause these limitations be removed. But again, also one thing being in Kenya, what do you understand the Kenyan right now? I would say the population that is coming up, being there, is that we have had relatively a good economy compared to any other place in Africa. And the generation of fathers now, today, my age and that are a few, have some sort of jobs, and so all of them were busy trying to make money. And there was not good parenting in the sense of the previous years. And therefore, father, mother were all out. And so kids kind of had no experience of that love. And so we have an exploding population that has not been discipled. They're kind of on their own in a place where everybody's working hard to make ends meet, and somehow they have some little life that was there before. And then here we have a population of 70% or so young people under 18. What are we going to do with them? They may not fit into a convention church. And here is an opportunity for us to touch them, and I am really excited with what God is going to do. And so in fact, when we were there, the crisis is even now, today I read again, they did 8th graders, and out of the million that were sitting the 8th grade exam, 20% of the girls were found to be pregnant. I mean, it's a national issue until the whole ministry. Today, they're doing the 12th grade. And it's even worse. And I don't understand what is going on, but we do. I remember I used to share with you that I don't know how this guy is going to be, because there are no quite parenting today in Kenya, because there's middle class people who have money. They have the passion has been to get money more than raise children. And therefore, there is a gap there. And here is an opportunity for us again to bring in the Word of God and discipleship. And I believe this is the opportunity to do this. Yep.
We will, like in the, we will set it up. Well, here's what we did. I want you to hear this, because this is a very significant. Mark, can you hear me if I'm talking like this? I'll use this mic. This is, you sit in the back, and then you can't hear. I'm telling you, okay. What we're doing is such an important thing. We're taking a concept and an idea to these local churches and telling them to, you come up with how it's going to work in your place. But it's very important. We've stressed over and over that sports are for girls too. And interestingly, Kenya is in I don't know what you would call it. They have a proactive. You've got to get women involved in things right now.
Actually, a third gender rule. You
Yeah.
cannot do anything, any leadership without at least 30%
Right.
women or that. Otherwise, it's not.
And that's even in the churches. Like I,
It's everywhere.
I sat with the elders of this one church, and they had 5 elders. 2 of them were women. Not that they wouldn't have had them, but law required. So it's a major push for what's that? Yeah, so it's getting there, and so of course sports is most people are not. There's no organized sports, and so they're really encourage them to have girls involved in sports too. The one nice thing is the in this town. Uh, we actually 3 different towns we went to, 3 majorly different cultures in Kenya. It's kind of interesting because these are test pilots to see if this works. This would be kind of thought of as a slightly middle class town, right, Kiragoya? Eldoret is a happening place. You could live in Eldoret, you could go to the church there, and you would feel much like home. It's a very much a lot of Western influence in Eldoret. And then we were in Kipsongo, which is a total slum. It's you couldn't live in Kipsongo, Sandy. You could, but everybody else would struggle there. Well, she's an oddball. That's for and so we're starting this in 3 different Kenyas. Really, it's in and yeah, they really are. That was not really by intent, but in looking back, I think, wow, we're going to start this in 3 completely separate things. But a huge push to but this place Kips Kiragoya, the top female volleyball player in the county also goes to this church. And so volleyball is definitely a sport where the women play more, and so she will.
Actually, it's one of the top sports the leading in Africa. But just to add, women are more in sports in Kenya than that would never be a problem. And trusting them in anything, like in Songo, we are right. Girls and boys play on the same side without even asking. They were just as equal in number doing it. But the thing is, like he's saying, is how do you organize them to have their own thing going? And it's a new thing. Although the gender rule is there, but in regards to sports, there has never been an organized sport for anybody to talk about. So this will be the way to go.
And like this is a little girl. I watched her run for like 30 seconds, and I said, "Oh my gosh, I want to recruit her and coach her." If you coached enough, it takes you like one walk down the mall, and you can tell who you would draft. So I don't even know this girl's name. No, I do. Peace. Is her name Peace? Peace. Peace. I think so. Yeah, she's really good. So she's just a little girl. This is a funny thing. This little girl, I was on Facebook today, and I just saw a person that it was like you can add this person as a friend. And this picture was her profile, and I don't know who this girl. Somebody took my picture and made it their profile picture. So I started to dig and search around, and here I think it's this girl's sister, but she must have taken it from somewhere. So, just like that, Tricia, we tried so hard to get these pictures, and people are already stealing them. And so but so it's a big push to get girls involved, and what you need to do with that is to get women. It's not hard to get girls involved in sports. The challenge will be getting older, ladies who missed that whole generation to coach and right and to really be involved. We tried to get so much across. It's a discipleship program. It's not about the ball. The ball will attract them, and you disciple them. And so to get women involved in that, and because what we left at each place is each place had people who knew the sport so they could train others the sport, but they had a lot of people who knew how to disciple and to be there. Let me just take a quick jump then to, I don't think we have any videos of this place, but just is there any basketball courts pictures? This is kind of a neat thing of how we're all involved here. There you go, look at that hoop, huh? Look at that fancy shrub behind it. That's a good looking hoop there. And even that, I would never build a basketball hoop like that. The backboard is 4 foot by 4 foot. They said, what would you make for the backboard? I said, I'd make it 3 by 5. And they said, okay, we'll make it 4 by 4. I said, all right. so, so they like squares. So, but this is what I want you to see because these are cool things. That rim right there, that's the premier basketball hoop in Carangoya, and that came from somebody's throwaway hoop. That one was from that I believe is John Schatz, a kid who used he's like 44 now. He was here in youth in our youth ministry here, lives in Erie now. Caught wind of this, came home to visit his mom, brought me a basketball hoop, and that's it right there. And so there he is over there, and other people who gave hoops showed right where they were. And so it's really fun to be involved with something that, like the balls you brought. I'm sure you'll see pictures of them. Unfortunately, at this thing, as you go into things, there's you come into problems also. Yeah, this is a real problem. So we're going to come to you about how to fix this baby. Their field is like about 70 by 100. We did not expect such a nice place. And of course, you're able to play then soccer and basketball and volleyball even on that field. But they have a nice hedge around the outside. And you ever seen multiflora rose? Any of you people have that? Yeah, it's like the most wicked. It's awful. I had a field that had it all over, and this thing is it's very wise to have a border with thorns on it because it keeps people out, right? Yeah. You know what's not good to do with a border full of thorns? Have any ball. So it's like, oh no, another ball popped, and another ball popped. And so we're running down looking for tire repairman. Can you fix this? Yeah, there we go. There's our thorns. So we're gonna start a campaign. We're gonna build a wall, baby. It's gonna be huge. This wall is. Yeah, they're gonna pay for it. We gotta do something to help them with this poor, and they're watching all these balls pop. We're like, oh, they're all popping, and the guy who ran the tire place, he couldn't fix the ball. I'm like, how could you fix a tire but not a little ball? And so there's an issue we have to fix there. It didn't pop the basketballs; they were a little bit stronger, but I don't think any soccer balls. That was fun. So actually, that is we talked with some people over there who masons and block layers and because it would also serve obviously for security reasons. You always want like not that long ago their entire sound system was stolen. I mean that happens and that's why you built so they don't have a wall. They have a wall around part of it, but not that part. So we're thinking, man, it would sure be nice to have a ball that didn't pop every day. We were there for 2 days, right? We popped like 6 balls. And so that's not a good ratio. So that's an issue that did come up. But, that's fixable. We'll use rocks to kick. And so, but it was such a cool thing to be able to take out, and I tried to remember who brought different things, but actually the shoes you gave, we weren't able to take those this time. You should have seen us. It was like we were a comedy routine. Here's when I travel. If you ever travel with me, I don't check any bags. I don't take anything. People ask me to take things. I don't. People say bring home. I don't. I am like Mr. Efficient Traveler. I have my little carry-on and a backpack. Here I go. Well, not this time. I mean, it was like the Beverly Hillbillies showing up at the airport. And oh my gosh, we got out of. We were in one car. It's a Toyota Prado, which is about the size of a Toyota Sequoia, and it's big. And so all our luggage is in there. And then we had to meet up with somebody else, and they took us in another Toyota, but it was a small one, more similar to like maybe a Toyota Highlander or a RAV4. Well, we were totally packed in this big Toyota. And then we get to this little Toyota, and we had to pack people with the luggage. So we thought, well, let's put Zach in the front, and then we just heaped him over. And he's right there. And all of us had luggage. We were looking over this stuff. And it was awful. And then we get a flat tire. And so it's not a problem so to change a flat tire. But where do you think the tire is, right? It's not on the roof, I'm telling you. It's under the back. Let's unload. First, we had to unload Zach. Yeah, there he is. There, we got him out, and then we had to unload every piece of luggage from the darn car and put that another tire on. So you should have been there, Brian. Man, this is awful. All right, we went to Eldoret. Talk about Eldoret's your guy.
Yeah.
It was such a cool team we were on. We had to really make a decision. Do we even go to Eldoret? And we're debating, and Sadiq says we must go to Eldoret. We have to. So, okay, here we go. We're going to Eldoret.
I like Edoret.
It's fast and flashy.
Well, Eldoret is really good because to me, if we talk about Kenya, Eldoret is the center of everything. It's the place where the miracle happened. It's the place where all the culture, missionaries all over come together. And it's a fast growing city. And there's so many youth from Sudan, from Somalia, all over they are there. So the coach that they call Hussein, yeah, he's a Muslim. And I spoke to him in Arabic. Wow, I just said, wow. So even though I'm from Africa, but Kenya is a different culture for me. So sometimes they're a little bit afraid. They say I push them so fast. Bec-
Sadiq is like a bull in a china cup in Kenya. These nice, simple Slav people. Hey!
so Kenya are very polite and relaxed. And sometimes when I'm on the mission, I want to accomplish it and move on. And because of that, I get to connect with different people. And God is good. And I wish when I was growing up, I have those opportunities. People bringing soccer to me to play, but I did not. Now I'm taking that to other kids. So it make me like, yes, this is it. If I die tomorrow, I'm glad. I'm doing something that is good. So but because of you guys, we can do that. It's not just because I'm going there, but without you, we can't do it. We can't. Because you guys pray for us, think about us, encouraging us. So it's all about you guys. So when we come together, we make difference. And every soul that's saved is all about God. So let's focus on that. So don't think that, oh, what am I gonna do? so you're doing a lot.
This is Dan and Maureen LaCavo. Those of you who've been around a little bit longer, Joseph LaCavo, he's probably 60-ish now, is a major league bishop in Eldoret and Kenya. Huge church, about 2,000 people were there on the Sunday we were there. This is his son Dan, who Sadiq and Keith really connected with well 3 years ago when they were there. And we didn't know how eager they were to have this. Because when they were there, you just got a little excited about the idea of the vision of sports when you were there last time. Shared it with them. And, of course, we didn't do anything with it for the last 3 years. So when he contacts them, they say, yes, we've been dreaming about this for 3 years. Basically saying it's about time you brought this back.
Correct.
We had no idea how organized and ready these people were. They were totally ready. What he did is he had us for a day, and he's got about 20, 30, or 40 20-somethings who lead his young people. And so he had us meet with all the leaders. And so we first met with them and trained them. Do you have the pictures of them with the books? Because you got to see that we were really over there with stuff that. So we had these little books, and they're kind of cool things. And the first place we went, we didn't even get them out. I don't even know why. They're training manuals for the International Sports Academy. And so here, we're in a classroom setting for 3 hours with all their leaders. And we said, man, we're going to really train them. So we got our little books out. I take a picture of them because I was pretty excited that they had little books. And so we share the vision with them. And I want you to see that all things must be owned by the people who are going to do it. This is a very important, I was just teaching a missions class here. Such an important concept. If we right here are going to do something, we better own it. You understand? We can't do somebody else's idea, somebody else's vision. Cannot do it. So we're with them and we're teaching, and we're very careful to just teach concepts to them, ideas, concepts, a little bit of practical things. And then we probably spent an hour with them just brainstorming. Give some of their.
Oh, yeah, sure.
Oh dear. This gets recorded. See, otherwise, I just was miming a message to everybody. But do you have the? In such a small group, all these difficulties I have to. That's why it was great teaching in Kenya. I can yell if I want. I can move over there. Yeah, nobody's recording me. I can deny almost anything I said. You have the video though of them talking. I think there's like 3 videos of this. I want you to see this because this is them.
Okay, let's do it. From the cross to the cross, from the field to the Father, from the football to faith.
Cross, field to the Father, football to faith, and they started to build on it. They came up with every alliteration they could find, and they were developing a vision. I think this is the one about that girl. Her name is Anne, and she's this really cool person. But I want you to hear what she had to say.
That you have, that they have with you, right? And it is good that from the start, it should be put out there for people to know what your vision is and what is expected of them. So it's not just about sports, it's about Christ. So I think they should know that apart from playing soccer and playing basketball and all that, we need to have a moment together to pray and all that stuff. So I think it should be put out there as soon as we start advertising for interhoods and all that stuff. Let them know that this is for Christ.
I like that.
Yes.
Is it from court to the...
And so what I want you to see there, because I was so excited about this, they were catching a vision for how to run this thing. What she was really calling for there, they are International Vision Center. That's the name of their church. And then they have Prayer Mountain, where there's 24/7 prayer for like the last 20 years. People have been praying 24 hours, 7 days a week for like 20-some years. And they have all-night prayer meetings. I think they have a prayer meeting every night. And what she was saying is, we've got to take this to the people and have us pray and bathe it in prayer and come up with the heart of God for it. I just got a little blip of it, but that's what the conversation turned into. I thought, yes, you're catching this. Run with all these things. And I think that one thing of Dan LaCavo, I want you to see how big they're thinking. What do we got here? Is he the next one? White in a yellow shirt. Maybe I didn't even put it up there. Okay. Well, anyways, though, they have a very big vision, and their vision is thousands. They currently have 400 to 500 youth that they regularly see, and they want to see thousands, not 1,000, thousands. And I'm telling you, they will see it. This group is so eager and is so wound up about this that they are ready to run. Here's what they know. They know that the current way of reaching young people is not working. Please hear that. You know, I love the story of when Jesus came up to the disciples who are fishing, and they fished all night and caught no fish, right? And he says, hey, have you caught any fish? They said the boldest thing that the Bible records. They said, no. Because we don't say that, right? How's it? Yeah, we just make it up. How's it go? Oh, it's going great. Well, we're so close. I know it. And it's so good. And we're doing. The disciples said, no, nothing. I'm tired. I'm done. We've caught nothing. And Jesus says, boy, I'm glad you answered that way. You know what you should do? Throw your net in the other side of the boat. And instead of saying, who is that knucklehead on the shore? They said, okay. They threw it on the other side of the boat. They caught so many fish, they didn't know what to do. Their boat almost sunk. And they pulled it in, and remember they caught 100. I don't remember. There's 2 fishing stories. I get them mixed up. This is one where they had to call all their friends, right? Okay, so they had to call all their friends because their boat was going to sink, and their nets didn't break, which is also a cool thing. But the point of it is admitting that what you're doing isn't working. If you want effective ministry, you have to look at what you're doing and be a little practical about it, and say, "This is working." Cha-ching. This isn't working now, but we know it's the heart of God, and it's a timing thing. Cha-ching, this isn't working. Right? I mean, it's really because that thing that isn't working might be your favorite thing. And so you loved fishing on the left side of the boat. That's your thing. Left side of the boat. Jesus says, how about right side of the boat? Well, I'm the left-handed fisherman. So it's really important. And these guys, and they know, it got 400 or 500 young people that they're reaching regularly. And they know that they're not doing what they're called to do. And they said, they weren't working. And so we need more. We need more things. So we give this thing. They're so pumped. I mean, look at that. Is that a face right there? That's who you, it's like, I mean, they were kind of posing, but they're just like, this is so different in Karangoya and so different from the slums. These girls could all be living here easily. It's just an interesting thing. Do they have is there one video of them saying IVC, International?
International Sports Academy, IBC Kenya!
That was their selfie. I actually stole it, so I just they were looking into their own selfie. I don't know what they were doing. They're all on every social media. They all have everything, and so this group is so eager and ready to go. And Eldoret will fly. So here's what we do. So we're driving around with them. There's one basketball court in this city. I mean, this is a major city, 3-4 million people, big, and it's growing. Yeah, it's just a little bigger than Warren. So I would tell them, I said, well, I live in the country. Sadiq lives in the city. I said, oh, really? Yeah, we got like 9,000 people in it. He said, we got 9,000 people in our church, man. So Sadiq's a city slicker. Well, when you're with me and Luke, and Zach, you're the city slicker. So we go to this. After we're doing this, we're out at a court. This is cool things we ran into. So we're at this basketball court, and there's a lot of Sudanese refugees in Kenya. You have a picture of those few tall ones with Zach? Look at that. All 4 of those kids are the same age. They're all 15-year-old. This tribe from the Sudan, I don't know if you guys remember Manute Bol. Back in the day, the Dinga tribe. This is them. So they're big. I've arranged to have them all come as foreign exchange students. I'm negotiating with coaches now to see who gets what. Ironically, the guy in the red shirt there, his first cousin is in the NBA. He's Luol Deng. He was great on the Chicago Bulls about 10 years ago. He still plays. He's kind of waning his career. But it's a cool thing because the NBA guy, Luol Deng, has been to, his name's Tong Dang. And so Zach's talking with him, and they became like friends because Zach's like friends now with everybody who has a red shirt on in Kenya. And the guy's name is Tong Dang, and it clicked in Zach that, dang, he plays for, oh, yeah, that's my cousin. Now I'm thinking, well, yeah, that's what everybody would say because, I'm Sudanese. And, it really is. That his dad, who actually lives in Boston, and his dad's brother is Luol Deng's dad. And so they literally are first cousins. So the NBA guy has been there. Why do I tell you this? Because we felt when we started this thing that God was going to connect us with major league people to be supporters behind this. And so you have somebody in the NBA whose first cousin lives over there, and there's one basketball court. And so, I don't know. Who knows what'll come about it? I don't even care if anything comes about it, except this might be one of those oddball connections that God gives us. And whoa, you're taking care of my cousin? I'm in. And so a lot of the reasons people don't give who have money is because they don't know the channel. It's really a key thing. You say, I want to help Africa. Okay, that's a little bit large, right? Give me a channel. Give me a way to get in there. And so, and that other guy's just really big. Who at age 15 is 6'11"? Are you serious? That's just kind of weird. So we're around here and we're going and we're driving, and right maybe 100 yards away from IVC Church is on maybe an acre or 2 of land, but it literally has building on almost the entire land. It's a very large building. So they have no place where they could put any facility. So we're driving around and we drive by this field, and It's maybe 100 or 200 yards from the church. And they say, hey, that's the field. It's been sitting there empty for 30 years. We need that. So the government owns it. So we go back and we're talking to Bishop LaCavo. And we said, hey, your son really thinks you should get that field. He said, oh, why don't we take that field? Because LaCavo is really good friends with the governor. And so he says, yeah, we'll talk to them. He'll give us that field. We go by the next day, and the road the first day we went was almost impassable. It was so bumpy. You know. The next day, the grader had already gone through and cleaned it up. Like what the heck? They got this. And so what they want to do then is it's about 100 yards by 100 yards or thereabouts. It's a pretty big field. And so their plan, it'll happen. We'll go over there, and they're going to put 3 basketball courts there and a couple volleyball nets, and in the middle they're going to have some sort of a soccer field. And they wanted tennis courts there too. And they'll get it. It will absolutely happen. And this will be the place. They want to put lights on it, and so it'll be the coolest thing going on in town because it gets dark. They're on the equator, so you never have long nights. You always have the same. How boring, right? You got to love our transitioning days. The sun comes up at 6, goes down at 6 every night, right? It's so much more fun to live here. So lights and so they're going and they want thousands they want to reach. They have the coaches ready, they've got the chaplains ready, they have the young people ready to disciple the people that come in, and so they're completely set on there. So we spent time on that field really claiming that it would happen and prophesying and all that stuff. Let me just go to the last little things. I want you to see what happened. Maybe you'll skip Kipsongo. You want to say anything about Kipsongo?
I like Kipsango. That's Kipsango is the slum. For some reason, I just love those kids out of nowhere. That touched my heart a lot. In fact, I found a kid there was having a toy that I used to have when I was a little kid. So because of that, I literally went into their little mud rooms, wherever they are. Oh, that is the toy. That was my toy when I was growing up. That is my little car. What I used to do, man. Are you kidding? He's like, Marco, what I used to do. When I was a little kid. Car. Yeah. Man, this was my toys, man. Oh, why you take plastic bag? I'm serious, this is good. I love this. Hey. So when my dad wanted to punish me, take that from me, when I was a little kid, So when I saw those kids there, I have to bring them out. So you can see the joy in their face to know that, wow, they're playing a soccer ball, a real ball, not like a rag or whatever. So because of that, they are very easy to reach with the gospel of God. All what they need is love. So that really touched my heart. And I believe that God gonna do revival there. So even when we met with the minister, you can talk about that. Even when we met with the Congress guy? I don't know, whoever. Yeah, but that is his area. He loved those kids. So.
On what? There you go. That's what we need. Yeah. All right. That's what we're taking next time. You got it. We're in. This slum, though, and this was Sadiq, really felt strongly that we had to go meet with Elijah. Elijah has also been here. I'm going through this thing thinking, my gosh, I think every person in Africa has been here at one point. And it's like everybody has been here. And Elijah, who I've known since 2002, Sadiq said, we have to go back to him. And so we go to him, and that's where the slum opened up. And it's a church that Elijah really inherited from his dad. And has gone in. But talk about this slum, because this is a big potential.
Well, when we talk about slum, what you need to understand is that whether in Nairobi or Eldoret, every city has a slum in the sense that the influx of people from the rural area to the city became so much more than the city can contain. For instance, Nairobi is supposed to be a city of 1 million people, which the structure can hold, but it has 5 million. So people can make anything to work. And most of the poor who have no money can build anything to survive. A single room can have a whole family of 8. That's when we talk about the slum. It's serious. So in Kitale, since the last 20 years or so because it's been a peaceful place. All tribes, I mean, almost every tribe is represented there. But then when they came, there was no structure to hold. And so Kipsongo is a slum where like anybody can build with a plastic paper house or mud and build. And so it's a sprawling slum of so many people. Within a small place, you can easily have 500,000 kids from the whole area. I mean, the whole families live there. It's so huge. It keeps on going because into even rural area now. But Songo is it matches into slum where some of you have been to Kitale where church is. Behind our church is a slum. It goes to match with Islam, and you can imagine how many kids are there. And so with an opening like this, you have thousands of kids that are potentially who are idle, and in most of them turn into sex baits to people because there's nothing they can't leave that place of limitation. It is not, there's no place to play and do anything. Yeah, field. House. Every little place is a house. Which is a prime. Mhm. Yep. So actually, it was bought by Christian Aid International, long because that's the only way it could do. Religious father had that, and so they have allowed Elijah to be the one to do that. And so the potential of the place is so great that it's gonna be. They are believing by 26th of December it will be like all kids are gonna come there to play. I mean, the plan and the vision is we can't even talk of what is gonna be there. There will be so full of kids I don't know how they can handle it, but the beautiful thing is, at least we are drawing them out from the other inactivities or activities that are not wholesome to something they can just. Some of them was just joy, just coming out of those places to be free and just enjoy. You would think Africa is a rural area and people be free to no, not in the cities. There's no room in places like that, and so the potential is great for kids to come out. Our prayer is that people will step into this vision because it's as good as our prayers and our commitment to see that the Lord will anoint us to really affect the numbers that God is drawing out. And so I think we pray most people will be on board in prayer and in all things that divinely the Lord will really bring this harvest in. It's because that place is ready and it's so many kids. And that is where people begin tracks and the highest place where there is sexual immorality, where they use kids as prostitutes, anything you can name of goes in the slum. I mean, any trafficking, human trafficking, they get them there cheaply. People sell kids so cheap there. I mean, I know we're doing it here, we're doing that, but in that place, who cares? A mother has 8 kids. She doesn't have to count who was in the house today. I mean, it's just too much. Initially, it began when women who had HIV were, because of the original, people didn't like the idea, ran away from their parents, from everybody, and a relative. So single women just piled there. It became a place for just women who didn't have a place to go because of the stigma of HIV. And then the vicious circle continues. I mean, so many people came there. They gave birth to kids, and there were so many of them with so many things going on. And today, it's a sprawling place of people with small hearts and humanity. And so this is a place where hope is needed and light is needed. And what more beautiful thing than bring them out, make them feel they're normal human beings, and speak to them love of God. So that is, I believe, is one of the most beautiful things because they have at least a little church here and there, but they're not really reaching out to everybody.
And this church that we're working with now, they better be ready because it's going to be so big. I mean, it's thousands of kids that don't even have a little. I mean, these houses are right next to each other, and so now there's going to be one field tomorrow, Saturday. Saturday, actually, the basketball hoops go in, and they're building them. They got a welder. Every town has a welder. It's like, cool, yeah, they got people to. And this is a cool thing. You think you have old phones that aren't valuable. Now, you got to hear this because this is an important thing. So Sadiq buys and sells phones. So, he might sell you your phone. He's that type of a salesman. I think I bought my phone 4 times from you. So he takes phones, some of them that people, whatever. Here's an iPhone 5, I don't want. Here's a 6, and da-da-da-da. This court was built with 2 throwaway phones that over there he sold to people and gave the money to. So if you think, I got a phone that's worthless, it is not worthless. Give it to this guy. It'll turn into an iPhone 6 turned into a basketball hoop. Right, the whole thing, built all the thing up, and so, and that was with Kenya money. So that's the wall we're going to build. That's going to build with their money. We're going to build a hoop, and we're going to build it with your money. So don't discount even things like that can transfer. That goes up the slums though. That's exciting, people. That we're going into a place that has big problems. We'll share more, probably not a whole lot Sunday. Sunday's a whole day on it's a cool day. But let me just tell you one other story, and this will end with this because it's time to be done. We in a strange way, we were in Kitale and we stayed. We had, again, this is how God led us. We had a choice of about 3 hotels to stay in. I kind of wanted to stay at the one that had the golf course. Peter wanted us to stay one downtown, and Sadiq was adamant that we stay at this one. Yeah, you have to stay at this one. I'm like, what is with that one? So we go there, and actually, Gary and Don, you were there. We had lunch there one day. Remember, we were on the roof of that, the really nice ones. That's where he made us stay. It's got a pool and everything. Just so you know, Kenya is like a potpourri of the economy. You can stay in the slums. You can stay at really nice hotels. So we're in this hotel, and it's not like elaborate, but it's pretty nice, though it wasn't very expensive. So we're in there, and we're talking about one guy that Peter knows who's linked to some government officials, and so we're talking about we want to get a container into the country without paying taxes on it. Tariffs are very high, 35%. Sometimes of the value of the container you get taxed on. And so Peter said, well, let me see if I can call this guy. So we call somebody, and there's no answer. And the guy's name is Fred. And so Peter walks out into the lobby of the hotel that Sadiq was adamant that we go to charge his phone, and runs into Fred. He's in our hotel. Like, Fred. There's Fred. He said, yeah, we've been trying to call you. So he comes out, that's Fred right there. See, there's a pool at this. It looks like we're in a staged place. We put this background. There's Fred. So Fred comes over, sits with us, and he's a nice guy and all that stuff. And we share with him our vision. He was actually with me the one time I shared it with that one government official. And so he says, this is what he said. He says, you must meet with the vice president of our country. You do realize this is a very large country. This would be like somebody saying, you got to meet with Mike Pence. Okay, he's a good guy. You're going to like it. So he says, you got to meet with them. He's like, okay, sure, we'll do that because that's what we were planning on doing. So he makes some phone calls. He says, you're going to hear from me. And he's there in the other place. So it ended up, because we literally had one day to do this in Nairobi. It was a day we were going to leave, and the vice president was out of town. The vice president wanted to meet with us, was out of town, but he instead sends a high member of parliament to meet with us. And so we go into Nairobi, get whipped around into the city and stay and go to parliament and go to this restaurant where all the members of parliament eat. And so we spend an hour with this guy in Parliament, which is crazy, right? This is right. So he spends an hour with. He bought us the coffee. Dr. Robert, the member of Parliament. So here's this cool thing, though. We were going there to just hang out with kids and play a little basketball, right? And so now here's what's happened. This guy is totally in. He's a high up guy. You remember when, like a month ago, the UN had their big powwow and Donald Trump said things, everybody got mad, that kind of thing. He was there. He came over. Right, he came over. The president of Kenya and him came over. So it's a big shot deal. And So he says, we're all in. We're totally with you on this. And he says, so we talk about, well, we think we're going to go back in February, and we're kind of making this up on the fly, talking to him. And he says, good. When you come in February, let me know in advance. You'll have a meeting with the vice president. He says, I'll try to get you to meet with the president. He says, we'll bring you into Parliament when it's in session. And we're thinking, dude, we didn't have a sports jacket, right? I know, we got to go to get some fancy clothes. He says, we have a place for you to sit. The Speaker of the House will recognize you, recognize what you're doing, will promote what you're doing. He says, bring us a manifesto for what is going to be in the container. Fill it up. Just bring us the manifesto. We'll approve it. And what can't get, he said, is what can't get in for duty free, he says, we'll just pay for. It's like, oh, that's cool. So it's like, are you serious? Partly all because Sadiq made us go to that hotel. But here's the thing, and as they even said it, they got a problem with their young people. And nothing's working. And they say, this will work. It absolutely, and every front it'll work. It'll work on the record. The minister of the national minister of sports is going to meet with us next time, and this guy, this particular MP, he loves sports. In fact, he's organized a soccer league, and so he's really excited about this, basically having a feeder program to his soccer teams, and which is part of what this is. So it's a social thing, it's a spiritual thing.
All the runners are from his tribes people. Most of the Kenyan marathon winners you hear of, they come from that. And so anything sports, they're very much aware and sensitive to it. Eldoret is the fastest growing because of sports, actually. Most of these runners winning marathon, almost every city in the world, bring money back to build. And so they see the value of that. But of course, we are going in with a spiritual understanding of this. It's not just about what kids can do with the sports, but how can we speak to them about Jesus, to Jesus about these things. And so the moral and whatever will shape and change, and there will be hope for this nation through that. And so
that's, we'll just stop there, obviously.
when he says big, like Kitale, it's a Trans Nzoia County, has over 1.5 million people, and that one is all in. I mean, the county government is already. Fred works for the county government, and there's a national government, and it's all linked together now. Now, when Karakoya, it's in Kirinyaga County, and this is where the president comes from. And that area is the worst hit with the youth because they are middle class and they have money. Their children are way on the drugs and all these things because, like I said, they were busy trying to get money. They didn't really parent anything. And so anybody who can salvage the youth, they can do anything. And so the question here is, there's no vision for it. Nobody thought about it. And it may look like, oh, this is something that is seeming being exaggerated. No, the reality is, if there will be a way youth can be helped, people will pay for it. They're willing because they want their children to be there. But of course, Jesus wants the children in. And so we're going in for that. And so it's going to go to Mombasa. It's going to go to we have 47 counties. And we're only talking about 2 or 3 so far. So if this thing kick in, almost every county will want it, if it's going to work. And the problem, Rick put it a big name about it. It is International Sports Academy. So it's international. So everybody will want to see something like that in their county. And I'm seriously looking to see something that is going to be explosive. And I think what is needed is train up as many people to share the vision at different times. And people will be visiting there not just once, several times a year, to be the stewards of this thing that God has begun, because it's going to be serious.
One other little thing. We were in Eldoret, which is kind of it's towards Uganda. And a guy from Rwanda, which is on the other side of Uganda, like forever away, 8 hours or so, or 10 or 12 or multi-hours away. He was in Eldoret, heard about us. I don't know, they must have like this incredible communication in Kenya that I don't know about, because people are hearing about us. And this guy from Rwanda comes to the church. We're not even doing anything in the church. We're in the church just worshiping. Afterwards, he comes up to us, and this guy right there, what's his name? I don't know. Hope you wrote it down. This guy is a big deal pastor. James? We'll call him James. They don't know. James, our friend James. This is a big deal pastor in Rwanda, highly trained by Bishop Lakava. We know he's a big deal. He comes up to us afterwards and he says, listen, I heard about what you're doing. He says, please come to Rwanda. He says, now if you remember in the 90s, Rwanda was decimated by genocide. I mean, literally 3 to 4 million people were killed. So therefore, everybody in Rwanda is young. They're all young because they killed everybody. And they don't have any organized sports. He says, we're a church, we're a pretty significant church, but we're looking for a way to reach youth. Please come. You're wide open there. And he says, and I oversee 70 churches. Every single one of them wants this. And he says, you've got to come to Rwanda. So we're thinking, okay, we're going to Rwanda. So, there you go. And so, it's just like, wow, this is so weird. That this is happening like this. Yeah, they wanted. Yeah. Oh my goodness. Yeah. We have to go back in February or sometime in there because we have to get back soon to follow up. We need to follow up on the ones that started, see how they're doing, see if they have any balls left that haven't popped, and and yeah, that's right. I don't know if they don't pop. I'm not sure I want to drop them from the air. What are they made out of? And but we need to go back and we need because that'll be a quick in and out, but it'd be definitely if you're invited by the president and vice president, you definitely need to go back and wear your fancy suit to go there and find out where that leads. And so that's the obviously. I mean, we just got home 2 days ago. So.
It would be good by February, the idea of the container, even if it won't be going, because if they say bring it, there has to be some readiness for it, because I know they will say it's okay. And I think the concept is going to the government, and they can give permission for anything. Vice President is enough to say there's no tax. And so if it's going to come with tax exemption, then we better haul in what we can for the time that the window has opened, because governments change. The guy who is in charge today will never be there tomorrow. And so when the window of opportunity has opened for us to step in, we better utilize it as soon as we can. Yeah. And so I think also, Pastor Rick, is like, what you need to do is have a people that will train people on the spiritual level that will disciple. I mean, now, the thing that I saw when we're going there is the explosion of the interest into sports. And now there will be too many. How a few pastors are going to control or speak into the life of these kids? So there's another aspect where we need to get chaplains, also called, be strategically trained so that they can really, people coming from here who can do something. I mean, there's an opportunity for sharing Jesus. And so anybody can pray and be willing to be trained to go.
Just how we would do a container, we need to go. You might not be tired, but I think it's 4 o'clock in the morning. But what we'll do is, and I hope I'm not speaking out of turn, Brian. We'll actually buy a container. You know what they are. They're the big 46-foot by 8. Stick it up somewhere on your in your parking lot, somewhere in the back that's out of the way, and then take multi-months, fill it up, and then when it's filled up, ship it out. And the reason we would buy it is so when it gets over there, it's our office and our shed, because it's a pretty good office and shed. And so you could live there. Put a little window in the side.
He
And
will
be...
go to a
All right. Any other quick question? Anybody else? I'm really glad you came out tonight. Sunday, though, just so you do know what's going, you need to be here because I believe so much more now than ever that now is the time to reach anybody, but now is especially the time to go after young people full bore. And you're going to hear from a lot of young people coming back from Saturate. They're just going to be naturally pumped up, so that's always fun to hear from them. And really, I will share about maybe these guys too. That now is the time. It is no long. It's not time to worry about, I don't know, any petty stuff. It's go time. It's time to do it. The window is short. And I was talking with, if you've got a, like in Kenya, you got a 60-some% of your nation is like under 20 or under 25, something like that. What are you going to wait 10 years? You missed 30% of your country. What are we going to do? Decide, well, I think we should really start reaching young people in like 2025 because that rhymes with being alive, or whatever. Now it is time now. The window's short. The window's short, I believe, on the end times. I'm more so convinced of that. And the window's short on anybody's life, indeed. So, all right. Good? You good? All right. Thank you. Let's just pray. Father, guide us, lead us in everything we do. In every individual life here, guide us in our details of our life, and then have us always catch the big picture that you're doing, and even the larger body that all of us are involved with. Have us see it in a big way. And Lord, we ask you for thousands of souls across this world that we, of course, use everybody in the world. But Lord, thank you that this little body right here has an opportunity to disciple thousands of young people all over this world, Jesus. And we thank you and bless you in Jesus' name. Amen. Amen.